Hi, my name is Parky, and welcome to A Lot of Thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts today, and as you have probably seen the title already, this is going to be my personal experience and thoughts on why art is more important now than ever before. There's a lot of thoughts here about the pandemic, what the pandemic has done to society, internet. Yes, just the vast plane of the internet, as well as art and why art has its place now more than ever. I'm just repeating the title at this point, but there's a couple of things that I need to use as background, I suppose, as to who I am and introduce my view of the world in order to fully get into these thoughts. So buckle in, grab some tea, or maybe even a drawing. Drawing? Why did I say that like that? As we just chat and discuss art. And I hope you have a cozy time, because this will be a long one. This is not fully organized. It will just be musings, ramblings from my brain, because I was talking to my friend actually yesterday, very late at night, and I had this very sudden realization where a bunch of these thoughts and musings and reflections on the world, my life, and what connected them all is the reason why art is more important now than ever. Also, you're gonna hear some background noises. Yeah, just gonna warn you, you're gonna hear some trains, maybe some sirens and stuff. I live in a very busy city. So before I can get to why art is more important now than ever, we have to back up and talk about who I am. So let's start there. Hi, my name is Parky. I've been a content creator for about 3 years now, and to be honest, I have, I guess, always made content ever since I was young, probably middle school, maybe even younger, but I've always loved YouTube. Who let a middle schooler on the internet? I know, but the internet was amazing. I got to witness the start of YouTube, the rise and fall of skit culture, and sort of the monolith that social media is becoming as, yeah, more and more copycats are being born. People are trying to find and copy one equation to success, etc. I started streaming on Twitch 3 years ago, and that has been the catalyst for me making more and more content that I really enjoy and making this video at the end of it all. And so I've been on the internet for quite a bit of time at this point. Pretty much my whole life, honestly. Yeah. And one of the key points that I need to bring up is that I was born, raised, and currently live in New York City. And I'm talking about New York City proper, not like Syracuse or Ithaca, which, if you're not too familiar with New York, you probably haven't never heard of these places, but I live in the city proper, and that definitely shapes a lot of my worldview and a lot of what I'm going to say. I'm going to reiterate that often, because I think these changes I am feeling need that extra caveat. And so now that you know a little bit more about me, one more thing, sorry. I'm currently voicing over a draw with me. You are watching me draw a bunch of cats hiking, which is actually a prompt that my partner gave to me. And while I didn't start this drawing at the beginning of this video, I started it in bed, because drawing to me is a form of meditation, freedom, escape, and healing space for me. And sometimes I stop myself from drawing because I feel like it should be content, and I was rebelling against that idea, rightfully so. So I started this drawing off screen, and you'll get to see the rest of it. So there's that. I've recently gotten very obsessed with art. I started going back to traditional art, traditional in the sense as in pen and paper, paint and paper, etc. Something on paper. Maybe starting July of this year, so it hasn't been that long, and I absolutely love it. And in the past year, really, I feel like I've really embraced creativity and realizing myself as a creative, embracing art, and really finding a lot more meaning in it as well, in all forms of mediums. And we're going to get into the reasons why I think that has come about, but even for someone like me who gets obsessed with crafts and hobbies very often, I've been getting a lot of happiness and joy out of this in a different way than I have with previous obsessions with arts and crafts. Over the pandemic, I got really into crochet, so much so that I started having wrist issues. It was definitely a coping mechanism for a very unhappy life that I was living at the time. And so I have done creative things over the years. I did film over in high school. During college, I danced a lot. And so, not to say that I haven't done creative things throughout my life, but that I feel like art has now become a pivotal part of my identity and something that I'm not willing to give up anymore. And it's been a pretty fast turnaround. I mean, the end of July is pretty much when I started the sketchbook, July 20th, and when I started my obsession with art. And it's been 3 months. 3 months is 90-ish days, close to 100. So it feels pretty wild that over the course of 100 days, my identity has changed internally. Maybe this isn't true for those who have watched me and know me, but for myself, I now hold art very dear. And so now that we have covered all of the aspects of myself that I wanted to cover, I'm sorry that was a very long intro, but it was much needed. We have to also go back to the pandemic, coronavirus, and how that changed society. The thing I talk about a lot with my friends is how corona has changed society to become a society of convenience. A lot of things changed during the pandemic, and the biggest one is that I feel now more than ever that society is not societying, in the fact that society is a social culture, but now we are more happy than ever to not interact with people. Through leaps and bounds of technology enabling that during the pandemic, while I don't think that these are bad things, it has changed the fabric of society, and I think I feel that especially because I live in a city that is so ripe with culture and communities that it scares me, and it's something that I've become very, very aware of in adulthood. New York is a very unique city. I would strongly believe that there is no city like New York City, and not to say that there aren't cities as great as New York City. It is just a unique city. To live here, to have been born here especially, is a different experience than to live here. And the greatest thing that New York has is communities, apartment building communities, knowing your neighbors. That's something I grew up with, and it's startling to see how many people nowadays, it feels like, don't know their neighbors. It might also have to do with my age. The fact that people my age, which is currently mid-20s to, I would say, up until mid-30s-ish, the postgraduate new adult life where we're all navigating careers, jobs, family, things, and home is a difficult thing to find within our this age group, I think. And I think that's especially why I am so aware of community and potentially the lack of it. Very privileged for me to have grown up with a strong sense of community, and for my parents to have really ingrained that within me, to get to know my neighbors, to feel safe with my neighbors, etc. And to feel like it has gotten so much harder to do that because people live in a society of convenience. So what I mean by society of convenience is that we have become a society that will do the easy things, and we've lost value of the hard things. It's so easy to order delivery. It's so easy to even get your groceries delivered to you. It's even easier now to access education and technology online. You can get books without seeing a single person. You can learn new skills and not talk to a single soul. These are amazing things. Let's not get that wrong. But there is a sort of growth that happens when you are forced into situations that are not entirely something you want to do, but things that are not painful. So going to the library, going to have to talk to someone in your education system to change enrollment for a class, going to the grocery store, picking up a can of beans because you forgot to buy that for your chili. Small things like this are inconvenient. It's very nice that I can borrow books on my phone and get an accurate wait time and then continue reading whatever book I was already reading on my phone. Again, I'm not saying that these things are inherently bad. Everything has their pros and cons. And I think that these advancements in technology are absolutely amazing. They allow access to more people of all kinds, abilities, etc., wherever you are as well. And I think that is absolutely amazing. I don't want to be misunderstood that I'm saying these things are bad. I am absolutely a supporter, a user of these technologies, and it's amazing. But I do think that there is something that we lose along the way. And that again lies in convenience. In New York City, we have what we call ghost kitchens. This is something that I'm sure has always existed, but has become much more prevalent in post-pandemic society/culture and culture. What ghost kitchens are kitchens that don't have seating. So they're not restaurants, they're not cafes, they are purely kitchens. And they're people that are cooking, packing orders, but they don't have a storefront. All they do is exist on online apps, on websites for takeout. There's a number of reasons why I don't like this. Yes, is it great for that you can now own a restaurant and a business without needing to hire wait staff, need to pay for extra real estate. You can work from a small kitchen space. That's amazing. That's great. What I don't like, there's a lot to not like, actually. One, I don't like the fact that there's now this what is it called? There's now this want and search for real estate that does not contribute to a community. These are not locations that are community building, simply because they don't have and hold space for people to be in, to hang out in, to see other people in. It also feeds a lot into a culture of ordering food, and I think everyone is aware that apps, food delivery apps, take a lot of money from restaurant owners, and so that's very often why menu items on delivery apps are more expensive, because business owners need to make up the difference. And so now you're not. And so while you may be supporting a small business, the beauty of a small business is lost along the way. Small businesses are loved for community, getting to see a family live their dreams and supporting a person at the end of the day. And now you don't even get to see that person. They may not even actually work at the store. It may just be a conglomerate real estate business creating these kitchens as a new business venture. So I went on this long tangent to bring up the idea that convenience is not only something that affects yourself, but it affects the communities and the way communities are built. And even if you're not a part of that community, indulging in these things changes the world around you physically, not just your worldview. Again, I have to reiterate that this is a very city-centric view, and I'm extremely privileged to live in a city and an area of the city that has access to plenty of fresh food and transportation to go almost anywhere I want. Not all parts of the city are like that. I need to say that because, again, this is a very personal experience of the world and response to it. Now, the part that I think more people will be able to relate to is the convenience economy or society, the convenience society online. The prevalence of doom scrolling, dopamine chasing has destroyed our attention spans and our ability to relax, to truly relax and experience boredom. There is a plethora, is not the correct word. There's an overwhelming amount of choices that we have to make as consumers day to day, and doom scrolling is a phenomena that I honestly believe came out of the pandemic with the rise of TikTok. And I don't think TikTok would have done as well as it did had it not been started during the pandemic, or even had there not been a pandemic at all. And so social media has become a reflection of this convenience economy where people have obsessed over trends, one of them namely being blind boxes and general consumerism in overall, where people feel the need to want and obsess over the things that other people have and need them for themselves. Influencer culture and consumerism have been around for much longer than that, of course. But I think with the pandemic influencing the economy and society and isolating people more, social media has emphasized that isolation a lot more and taken advantage of that in consumerist capitalist ways. By feeling the need to be a part of a group, that really influences trends and consumer behavior because people want to be a part of a collective thing. And so that is why I feel there has been a very abrupt rise in influencers pushing more and more products and people falling for that because they want to be on the in crowd. And they want to have that new shiny thing even more than ever because they're losing that physical in-person connection with the people around them. So when you combine all of these things that I've noticed into what I have been calling a society of convenience and maybe even an endemic of convenience, where does art tie into that, and why do I think that art is even more important now than ever? The problem with convenience, again, and I'm not shitting on convenience for making people's lives easier. to an extent, that's an amazing thing. It brings accessibility to people, it brings knowledge and shares knowledge effortlessly to many more people than ever could have reached. Too much of a good thing always becomes a bad thing. Why? Because we lose something else from what we give that thing. In this case, what we're losing is friction. And this is the conversation that really tied it together for me yesterday. My friend and I were talking about this exact topic, and she said something. She said this, that we live in a frictionless society, and that is what really clicked it all together for me. We live in a society where you can fathomably not interact with anyone ever again. I don't think our society is smooth enough for that to actually be possible, but I can reasonably see a society where I don't actually have to see another person ever again in person. I can watch YouTube videos. There's so much media online that I can have human-ish interactions. Of course, these are all parasocial, and they're all on my own terms. I can watch a video or not. I can call a customer service representative or not. Chatbots, tech support have all moved to being online and easily accessible as well. So I guess I don't have to talk to anyone ever again. And of course, there are always extroverts who this applies to a little bit less. They need that person connection in order to recharge and gain that part of their life. But living in a society of convenience, or what I believe is more aptly named a frictionless society, as my friend said, means that we are not learning how to be resilient. We are not learning how to manage frustration. We are not learning how to, quite honestly, develop as people. We don't know how to go through hardships in the same way that not quite the same way as trauma. I don't mean things like that. I mean more simple things, more mundane things like boredom. Experiencing boredom is very hard nowadays when we can so easily open our phones and be overwhelmed with the amount of media that exists online. Even without that, there's so many books in the world that a person cannot even read a fraction of them within their lifetime, even if they spent every single second of their life without eating, drinking, sleeping. They would not get through a significant number of the books in the world. There's constantly things that are there to entertain us, and never has it been more readily available and easy to access. Not only that, never has it been so easy to avoid the things that are difficult. While one might say, oh, we're living in a difficult generation, the economy is so confusing, and being bombarded with so much information is a different struggle altogether. And I agree. I'm not saying that our lives are not filled with hardships either. But that's a part of living. And I think that having this overwhelming access that technology has provided is changing us in ways that are not great. So art comes in because the process of creating art will always have failures. Art is inherently full of friction. It is full of discovery, learning, self-expression, and reflection. There's a lot to think about, and I'm not saying that this is unique to art, but this is part of my reflection as to why art has become so pivotal to my life and why I think it is necessary that it become important to others. Not only is art full of friction, and why I strongly think that you should embrace creating art, It helps to teach you to learn to let go of perfectionism, but also embrace the fact that things that you had set out to do may turn out differently, and that's okay too. There's beauty in that as well. And there is so much to learn. Even just critically consuming art, and I don't just mean traditional art as in painting, pen on paper. You can critically consume film, photographs, music. I still believe that creating it is the essence of the human condition, because art brings community, art brings conversation. Art is both self-expression and reflection, and art is not just a reflection of the artist, but also an introspection on the viewer. It posits, every piece of art posits a question, whether you intend it to or not. What question does this art of cats hiking pose? I'm not sure. That's not for me to know. And maybe it doesn't pose a question to you, but it might pose a question to someone else. It could be something as simple as, why is the grass only green? Or it could be something as, I don't know. I think I tried to get a little too reflective and existential there. I'm trying to think carefully about the words that I'm putting out here, because this is something that I spend a lot of my time thinking about, and I am still working through these thoughts. But working through art has taught me so much about myself, and the beauty of creation is something that is wholly different when you can hold it in your hand. That isn't to say that digital art or any digital mediums are not as good. The art of creation in general is a process. It's a laborious process. It is so much more failure than ever successes. And that's the beauty of it. I am not talking about art as only a traditional medium. While I do believe that having physical art is important, and having that physical expression, even the act of moving your tablet pen over your tablet is a physical manifestation of creation. Even if it's your fingers typing on a keyboard, that is a physical manifestation of creating, and the struggle that needs to come with it. I am not saying that art should be hard. I think art can be fun and hard at the same time. It doesn't have to be difficult in the way that it weighs on you. It can be difficult in the way that doing a mental math problem is. It is a little bit of struggle that is required to get to the end, but it doesn't have to feel painful. I think that we lack that kind of struggle in our life now, and the only struggle that we feel are the overwhelming burdens of the world. And so taking those moments of just experiencing boredom are very important. Genuinely just lying down on the floor or sitting in a chair, standing, even doing something and staring off into the distance and feeling bored. That's really important. And I don't mean hardships that make you feel pain. I want them, your hardships in this case should be discomfort. It should be something that pushes you gently across the boundaries of what you thought you were possible. You could do. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I hope this makes sense. That the art of creation is really what people need to be pursuing, and you don't have to be publicizing it. If that helps, go for it, do it. You don't have to become an influencer, but even just opening an account and posting it somewhere, if that helps you, do it. If it doesn't, don't bother. Do it for yourself. All of this should be for yourself. Okay, I've been talking quite a lot. Again, I didn't really organize my thoughts too much about this. This is still a thought that is in progress. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections on society as convenient, and rapidly going towards what I feel is a kind of mindless stupor of convenience. And again, I don't mean this to shame anyone who indulges in those things. I think it's necessary to indulge in those things and treat yourself and relax and enjoy your access to these things. I'm not saying I never have delivered food. I do, and I enjoy it. But having so much access to these things does make it a little less special. Like, if I ordered delivery every single day, it would not feel like a treat. It would just be a part of my life. And that's I guess another part of the convenience thing. These things that are amazing, special things have just been dulled down to some social media game, some money, big corporations' way to make more money. And I feel like if people made a little bit more art, we might honestly solve a lot of problems. Just draw a circle. Draw some circles. Maybe put a little smiley face in them, a little sad face, a little angry face. It doesn't have to be anything huge. Maybe it's just taking a photo of your desk every single day and being like, oh, I've never put that water bottle in that corner. I wonder why I did that day. Things like that. I don't... yeah. That's kind of the thoughts I've had over a long period of time, and I feel like it clicked yesterday. Well, these were just my personal reflections and musings. I don't really have any, I don't know, references. These are just my experiences, and obviously my friends are very small. Not even a proper sample size of society at large, even in New York City. But this is just what I've been feeling. I would love to know your thoughts, your reflections. If any of this made sense to you, if you understand it and relate to it, or if you think it's wrong or parts of it are wrong. I would love to know your thoughts, especially because on YouTube this is free game for everyone. I could be finding people halfway across the world have never lived in a city, and I would love to hear your thoughts. And it would be great if you could add a little bit of background on, I guess, a small bit of related points on how you grew up and where you're at in your life that contribute to your worldview. So, a bit of a different video here. I've mainly been doing art and vlogs recently. A lot more art because I've been so obsessed with creating. And hopefully this was enjoyable. Let me know if you absolutely hated it, although I'm probably not gonna really care because this is my channel. But I always appreciate your opinions and everyone's thoughts, and thank you for listening and watching and getting this far. I hope you had a lovely week, day, or beginning of your day, week, month, year. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that, and hopefully I will see you around in another video. And go create some art. Do that. Yeah. That's my homework I'm kidding, it's not homework. Go create something. That is That is all. All right. Bye bye.